We've done some stories on right-wing radio host Mark Levin before. Well, he just got some sort of an award from CPAC, and Media Matters put together this great compilation so you can better understand the brilliance that is Mark Levin.
Obama has abused more children as president than any other president in American history.
Oh, we want clean air and clean water. And what does that mean? Poverty! Less electricity, less heat.
Let me ask you, why do you hate this country?
No, I love this country.
I said, why do you hate my country? Why do you hate my Constitution? Why do you hate my Declaration of Independence? Let me say this. Are you a married woman, yes or no?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why your husband doesn't put a gun to his temple. Get the hell out of here.
I can hear him now. This Rahm Emanuel, this sleazy little former ballerina puke.
And his brother, Mr. Death. That's right, Mr. Death, Ezekiel. Mr. Death, Ezekiel, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel.
Well, here's what we're going to do. If you're handicapped, if you're handicapped, we take half a point off your value. What are you talking about? Oh, yes. This is very progressive. Just stick with me. You understand. It's what's best for the greater society. That sounds Hitleresque to me.
Hey! Never say that. Don't ever say that. No, you can't call it what it is. This is called progressive.
Barbara Boxer and John Kerry. Two complete morons who look like they come straight out of that show, The Addams Family.
You could bounce a dime off her cheeks. The woman has had so many facelifts, isn't it obvious to everybody?
You see, this guy's a dumbass.
That's right, I said it. Absolute menace. And he's not the only idiot. That's right. Our current commander-in-chief, he's another one.
And so could her. This one, her thinus. Cut 12, go. Obamacare is a cancer.
Why would we end racial profiling for law enforcement purposes? Are we all supposed to be Helen Keller? Who killed who? I don't know. What color? You're not allowed to say. That violates the federal law. Okay. Well, what ethnicity? I don't know. Can't say. Okay. Black, white, yellow, red. Can't say. Burqa, no burqa. Yarmulke, no not. Can't say. That's profile. How stupid is this?
Not the Klan's agenda, but the radical left's agenda, which in the end are pretty similar, frankly. So we're all polluters, except, of course, for the environmentalists. They don't defecate, they don't intake, they don't exhale. They're just perfect little jerks.
Another job killer!
Al Gore has lost his mind. These are the ramblings of soft brain tissue. He's the Jim Jones of the environmental movement.
That's right, I said it.
You know, it used to be a chicken in every pot. Well, under this administration, it's an abortion in every household.
This is a guy that the right actually holds up as some sort of intellectual. I'm not kidding. If that's your fucking intellectual, man, you guys are in trouble. Now understand something. Clearly, we are not against ranting and being loud and getting aggressive and calling names. In fact, I'm in favor of all those things. I do it on a daily basis. But the point is, you have to make a clear case, say something factual, explain how the people that you're talking about are dead wrong, and then you can indulge and engage in the name-calling and the getting loud and the this and the that if you're passionate about the issue. But he does the opposite. Have you ever noticed that with right-wingers, especially Mark Levin, the louder he gets, the more ridiculous his point is? Like, you know when he's in an all-out scream, he's 100% incorrect about whatever he's saying. I mean, look at some of the points he makes. Obama abuses children. Yeah, you nailed it, man. He admitted he's against clean water. He said he pretends like you can't mention skin color when you're talking about a crime that was committed. See, this is the straw men that they have to create to try to defend their ideology, because you know how clearly progressives and liberals were in favor of equality and were in favor of not discriminating against people. But see, he's pretending that federal law stops you from saying, like, if you got robbed, like, oh yeah, I was robbed by a black guy or I was robbed by a Latino guy. He's pretending like according to federal law, you're not allowed to say that. But that's made up. But you just made that up, Mark. Everybody knows you made that up, or maybe your listeners don't, all 6 of them, because they're fucking idiots. But you need to use a straw man in order to attack progressives, because we're actually not ridiculous and we make sense with almost everything we say, so you have to paint a picture of us that isn't the real one, that allows you to live in your ridiculous bubble. Here's the thing about Mark Levin. I'll never forget this. I've told this story on air before. It was right before the 2012 election. I was driving in my car. I always decide to turn on him or Rush or whoever whenever, you know, I'm doing something, because I can laugh along and I can maybe find something to talk about on air. And a caller called in. It was a liberal caller. And he just said very calmly, because he heard I guess it was the first time he listened to Mark's show, because apparently he didn't know how much of a lunatic he was. And he just nicely, calmly corrected him on something he said. He's like, yeah, man, look, I went and I looked at the numbers according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics or the CBO or whatever it was. And, you said Obama's been losing jobs and this economy is horrendous. I just want to let you know that it's actually been, at the time it was 28 or some odd straight months of job growth and 4 million or so private sector job gains, thereabouts. And he just gave the numbers. He gave the facts. And he said, you could look, check it here if you want to see it or whatever. And Levin just cuts him off, ends the call, just silences him and hangs up on him. And he's like, you're wrong! It hasn't been 24 months of straight job growth. It's been 24 months of straight job losses. Ah! I'm laughing because you're provably wrong. Anybody who's listening to you that has access to Google can just check it and go, oh, okay, that guy's a moron. Oh, I see. He's a partisan idiot. His brain is broken. It doesn't work. It's stuck on defend Republicans at all costs mode and hate Democrats at all costs mode. And that's what, whenever I think of Mark Levin, that's what I think of. I mean, look at when he says, he always says, that's right, I said it. Oh yeah, you're on the edge, man. You're really telling the truth and nailing it. See, he thinks he's nailing it when he says stuff like that, but it's always after something stupid. They're just a horrible personal attacks telling a woman he hopes that, or he's surprised that her husband hasn't committed suicide. What is that? You don't say that when you're right on something. You say that when you don't have any substance and you just, you divert to the most grotesque personal attacks possible. But it's okay because to anybody who knows anything about talk radio, you know that these guys, their time is limited, man. Mark Levin's time, Rush Limbaugh's time, Sean Hannity's time, they're all their time. Tick-tock, the clock is ticking. And the reason I say that is because nobody listens to them. Nobody listens to them. Okay? They used to do a rating system for talk radio that went by diaries. They'd send it to you in the mail. You'd have to fill it out, who you listen to and when you listen to it. And what happened is it wasn't reliable because nobody would actually do that. They would just wait till the end of the month and jot down whatever, and they would just go with whoever had name recognition. So, I don't know, I listened to Rush for 5 minutes or whatever. And they would just count that towards his ratings. Now, when they switched over, and they did it recently to something called People Meters, which is a GPS tracking system that it goes within a certain perimeter of near a radio station, they found out, oh my God, nobody is listening to talk radio. Why do you think there were all these stories about how advertisers are running away from Rush and Hannity and Levin and Savage like the plague? A lot of these guys have no, Rush clauses attached to their deals with the different stations. And a lot of that had to do with Sandra Fluke, but it also has to do with this, the fact that nobody's listening. So how are these guys still on the air, and why are they still on the air? They already would have been kicked off if they were living in a free marketplace and actually, abiding by the same rules that us progressives have to abide by out here when we're actually in the free marketplace. They're getting subsidized by the right-wing think tanks. They get subsidized by FreedomWorks, the American Enterprise Institute, and the rest of them. That's where they get their checks from. And the second that those guys, and they're not smart people there either, but the second that those guys realize that these guys they're not making them any money. They're fucking just bleeding money. They're going to be like, oh, shit. All right, yeah, we gotta stop supporting them. And remember, who funds the right-wing think tanks also? The richest Republicans in the country. So essentially, Mark Levin, Michael Savage, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, they're all like the paid propagandists of the richest, billionaire Republicans in the country.